This meeting will be recorded, and subject to the recording being suitable quality, will be made available on Council's YouTube channel via a link on the Council's website. Health and safety, I think we all know, Steve, you've got your own health and safety put in place at home.
Cup of coffee.
Very good. The emergency exits are the door you came in and the exit behind me. If we need to evacuate the building, use one of the exits and assemble outside by the playground. Please remain at the assembly area until the building has been confirmed clear. We have Councillor Crackney joining us via Zoom today, and Steve, would you be able to open with the karakia?
Mai te pai mona raro ke te tai, mai te awa tonga raro ke te awa raki, tēnei te hapori awhi ai taratahi, whānau haramai te toki, haunwe hui e taiki e.
Thank you. Suzanne's just making some adjustments to the Zoom, so we'll just give her a couple of minutes and
chat, Steve. Let's see if we can hear you. Should be able to.
can you hear Steve?
Perfect.
Fantastic. We don't have any apologies for the today, but just before we go on, I'd just like to acknowledge Stefan's input into the Library Service Committee during his time with us, and to say we're sorry to lose him, and that we wish him all the best for the future.
Ooh.
Are there any conflicts of interest to declare today?
No.
No. There's no public participations. It's good. So we're up to confirmation of the minutes. So it is, we're considering the minutes from the 18th of November 2020. Are there any corrections needed? Okay with those?
I think it'll look fine to me.
Okay.
Do you like?
So do we have a mover for the minutes of the Wairarapa Library Service Joint Committee meeting held on the 18th of November are true and correct?
I'll do that.
Thank you, Lee. And Steve, do you want to second those?
Sure.
Fantastic, lovely chat. Fantastic, all in favour?
Aye.
Say aye. Cool. Right. So we've got the Wairarapa Library Services Activity Report. Annette, would you like to speak to? Hold on, we just, before we do that, I'd like to move that we receive the report. Do we have a seconder for that? Thank you, Lee. All those in favour, please
Aye.
say aye. Fantastic. Annette, would you like to speak?
I guess I haven't particularly got much to say other than it's a really busy time. Business as usual is relatively steady. We have been doing a lot of recruitment for the New Zealand Library Partnership Program roles. We've got staff starting. First one started this week. Next one starts next week. And a lot of cool projects on the go.
Is that 3 new staff we've got, is it?
6 FTEs across both councils.
Both councils, 3 per council.
So will they be based in one council, or will they be moving between the?
They're working across all 4 branches. So we're setting up a basically a hub in the meeting room number 1 at Greytown, Town Hall, and that'll be where the team is able to work hot desk, but they're going to have time scheduled on circulation desks in all the branches, and they will be moving around and working in all 4 branches.
Fantastic opportunity, isn't it?
Huge, absolutely huge. So we've got one more position to recruit for, and yeah, everybody else is set up starting now and 12th of April, and we're backfilling some roles. We have 3 internal people who were successful in applying for some of those roles. So now we're backfilling their roles as they are seconded out for a year.
And how long is the contract for?
Till 30th of June 22.
And do you see any extension of that, or?
I was asking the program leader at National Library on Monday about it. I said, around libraries, there's lots of rumours about that there's still money and we'll be able to extend this another year. She said they've gone to Treasury. Treasury's doing work on whether or not they're able to carry over the underspend for next financial year. So possibly.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, basically because recruitment's taken a lot longer around the country than they'd anticipated. So there's a lot of underspend. So
It was what I was wondering, has it been difficult to get people?
yes and no. We had a really good pile of applications for the 6 roles, and yeah, we shortlisted, we interviewed 16 people across 3 days and made a number of offers. I'm now going back to some of the CVs that didn't make the shortlist and following them up for one of the roles that we haven't managed to recruit yet. So for us, I was pretty pleasantly surprised by the standard and calibre of applicants.
And are they across a range of backgrounds? I mean, are they primarily have been in the library sector, or they're across a whole wide range?
Whole range. So we've got people who are, quite a few who are teachers, qualified teachers, some who've had library experience but are not librarians, as in professionally qualified. People who've come from other walks of life, graphic design, web, business, what else? Gardening, science. Yeah, quite a mixture of skills and backgrounds. So it's great.
Ooh, fantastic.
Historians, yeah, journalists. So
Now the big task of managing them all.
that's right. You're not kidding. Yeah.
Steve, did you want to ask any questions or anything?
No, it's thanks for the report, and yeah, I just look at the graphs and so forth, and things are still tracking along really well. I just think you're doing a great job, Annette. So yeah,
Thank you.
it's wonderful. Surrounding yourself with good people is always a help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Essentially our staff is going to go from 16 to 24 in a single bound with us.
It's huge.
It's a big group of staff. So I have like 11 direct reports pretty much, because we thought all the library partnership roles will directly report to me because it's only for a year. So, there's been a lot of work being done in the background about how to make sure the culture of the team, the 4 libraries, sits together quite tightly, so that's probably been sped up a lot because of this, probably a lot more than you would normally do. So that's been interesting. And then just how we make sure that all these new people coming on board, that they are made to feel very welcome and part of a team, not, we're the new ones that are just here for 5 minutes. So a lot of that real soft skill stuff is happening at the moment across the board, taking up lots of time.
Are you, just on that note, do you feel you've got enough capacity to?
Me personally? Yeah, all right, I'm quite good at organising my day. Ask me in 6 months when I'm yeah.
I mean, that's where we're so lucky to have your incredible skills and background. And
just got a really good team too. That's a chunk of it.
And who's doing the articles for the various, like the Card and Crier and so forth? Is that yourself?
No, at the moment the branch librarians each write their own for their own community. We agree 2 or 3 key messages for the month leading in, and then they write the article for their community. One of the roles we're recruiting is the content coordinator. So I envisage that person being, the coordinator of all that work rather than be me that's coordinating it. And I would also envisage that person probably doing the draft of the articles. Yeah, take a load off people. And just
Right.
a little more journalistic aspect to it.
Yep.
They're good, they're very well read, those local papers. It's great for
Yeah, aren't they?
extremely cover to cover, and people hold on to them as well.
Yeah, so they're quite powerful mechanism.
Very.
Yeah.
Just a question on the Eastern, the children's summer reading program. So what are you're obviously looking at replacing it with something else.
Yep.
Have you got enough funds or staff capability to do it? Well, obviously you've got
Yeah,
more.
definitely staff capability, that's there, that's not a problem. Staff capacity, we'll see what we're scheming up.
Yeah.
The sense around the group is that EC Summer Reading Program has been really, really successful, but it's possibly quite cumbersome and it's possibly kind of past its use by date. Yeah, we've got a couple of my team are already looking at alternative things that other libraries are doing, and how we might do things in a slightly smarter way, I guess, and what we might do. And EC Summer Reading's had a lot of what they're called incentives. So you read your book, you come in, you check in at the library, and you get an incentive to keep going. So there's been a lot of background. Admin with that, and of course with COVID hitting, the problem with that was a lot of those incentives didn't arrive in time this year, and there was a lot of scrabbling around to make that stuff work well. And we found that kids don't need that. They're just quite happy to read and come and talk about what they've read. And that. So I think that was useful for some staff to realise you don't need all that other stuff. You just make it a great experience and people are happy. So I think that was useful timing.
It's interesting, isn't it?
So reinventing yourselves as such, could that see Eastern and Central Community Trust get back involved?
Possibly. They've apparently said they're open to bids. So at the moment, I want the team here to figure out what they want to do for summer and winter for programs, and then we'll figure out, okay, what's the logistics of doing this? Can we do this within existing operating, or do we need some funding to buy whatever, a bit of marketing or whatever? And I'm not in a position to say what we need yet, because we might well be able to do all this with some existing funding. So we'll see. Yeah, got an agreement with Corin at Masterton that we will jointly look at something across the whole region here first. And then once we figure that out, then we'll talk to our regional partners, libraries, and say, okay, this is what we're looking to do in the Wairarapa. Do we want to make this kind of whole of Greater Wellington region or something? So there is, and we've already mooted that with other libraries last week. So there is interest, there's certainly quite strong interest around the Wellington region to be pulling people together, staff-wise, and doing things once, not umpteen times.
This makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And it's great for staff, because if they get to work with other libraries and other librarians, that's good.
Well,
it's a like-minded people, and it's and it works.
Professional development and networking and morale boosting.
And new ideas, somebody may be doing something a bit differently that would work for us.
Yes, totally. So definitely in favour of really getting the libraries put together a lot more tightly. So yeah.
Great, fantastic.
Okay, thank you. Good that you said that you're contributing to the Age Concern newsletter, which is really good, because I think that's important for not just younger people, but for older people to still know that the books are there to read. Yeah.
And presumably, are you targeting any segment of the market in terms of these articles to grapevine, etc., or you?
Sometimes, like this month's all about the career advisory workshops that are happening around the region. So that's really about anyone that's looking for work, first time into work, or being made redundant from COVID, and or looking for a change. So that's sort of the message of this month. Each month we're trying to pick a different thing. And it's not necessarily an audience specific message. It's more about, hey, this is what's happening. This is some services you might not realise that the library does. So I think, and we'll see how that goes. One of the partnership roles is community engagement, and the role for that person is very much to find out who our non-library users are and why they're not library users. And then from that, we'll start addressing that quite swiftly, I hope. So,
Yes, on that note, I must follow up on councillors, how many are library members, because not all of them are.
Not many.
not many.
I think you and I
Don't
are.
ask that.
Mm.
Don't ask that, because I'm not.
Not,
You were going to sort that out last time.
naughty boy.
What are you doing?
Maybe Pam and I might make that a mission for next meeting. We'll have everybody signed up.
Yes. Good luck.
Mm.
Yes. Perhaps you should talk to my husband about not being a member. You want a body of people to talk
You
to.
could attach it to, councillor fees for attending meetings.
Sounds like a plan.
What percentage of Carterton are members of the library, Steve?
Now, there's a question Lee, I'm going to have to go back and ask as well.
Yes, you can't advocate if you're not a member.
That's very true.
It's harder to advocate if you're not a member, yeah. Yeah. So maybe we should arrange for councillors to have a visit to the
Mm.
4 libraries
Mm.
and see how they're set up and what's available and things like that. I think that might be a good trip. We go and look at wastewater and infrastructure and things like that, but I don't think we've ever physically gone inside the libraries and talked to how they're set up and why they're set up that way and what everybody does. So I think that might
Great
be.
idea, Pam.
Great idea, Pam. Mm.
All right, we'll put that through. Right, I think that's the end of what we've got on the agenda. Could I have,
Sorry, would you mind if I just ask one question?
not at all.
So just thinking back to, we amalgamated all the various, tidied up all the various reports and things around funding and how,
The policies.
policies,
Oh,
etc.
right, yes.
What was the final outcome on how we managed either money or donation of books? Money, I think, was the key thing.
Donations, we've got a donations policy.
Oh, good. And that incorporates money, dollar value.
No, it's about if people clear out the garage, their attic or somebody else's house and turn up at the library with a deluge of stuff. But the money aspect, we're not getting many bequests or any donations like that. So I haven't done any work on that. I think that would come under council policy per se if somebody wants to leave money to a council, given that the libraries is a business unit of council.
Does that cover it adequately, do you think? Because it was a specific question we were asked.
Yes,
Right,
that came out of the Martinborough ones.
Yeah.
okay. I haven't done any work on that.
No, you've been
I
busy.
think from memory it went back to you and for
Yeah.
on that. But
How that came about was because they had a group called Friends of Martinborough Library.
Yeah.
And so sometimes there was a donation of money came rather than books, and it was how the librarians handled that.
I've got a very slim folder which is labelled Friends of Martinborough Library. There's a checkbook in it. There's a list of names. Many of the people are no longer around, and they look like they've been pretty inactive for a few years. So
Yeah.
I've kind of just left. I haven't done anything with it. I've just left it in abeyance, really. I haven't seen anybody kind of turning up at libraries with bags of cash yet. Yeah, but so I haven't done any work on that specifically. And part of me thought, well, libraries is a business unit of council, so I presume it's a council thing of if somebody wants to leave a bequest or donate money or raise funds on behalf of, then how does council approach that?
Okay, then maybe it would be an opportunity. We need to see who are the signatories to the Friends of Martinborough Library.
It's Lady Teal
Some Leonie Teagle.
and one other chap who I understand might not be alive any longer, maybe.
Okay, well, I know
I'll
Leona,
double check.
but if we're not going to use it and we're not going to keep it going, then maybe it's opportunity to close that bank account, whatever it is, and put the funds with the council under a Suffolk's library or something like that.
Yeah, it's not a bank account for, the bank account is their bank account, not council and not library's bank account.
No, it's a friend's bank account, isn't it? Yeah, but if they're not going to be active, then something should be done
And they might
about it.
want to close it, yeah.
Because presumably that was tagged to Martinborough Library.
Yes,
It just
Yes, it
tagged.
was, yeah.
yeah, it was hooked in with the funding for the building, I think.
Yeah, no, and it was also the money from that also was used to run programs for the children if they had to buy craft stuff or anything like that for a program they were running at the library. Then that was the fund they could
Okay.
tap into to be able to do those sort of things. Yeah, or if they needed books and there was no, over and above what council were providing, then they could use that money to go and buy books.
Thank you.
Okay, cool.
Quite salutary when you look at April, I'm sorry, March, April figures of your last years.
Yeah,
I mean, not surprising at all, but just interesting.
With the fact that they were closed,
Yeah, the whole time.
couldn't access them, could you? Ebooks are going up tremendously.
yeah, we're going to do a big push on ebooks, just because they went up over COVID, but also it's just a chance to remind people that they're there. And the whole Lower North Island Consortia eBooker, which is a consortia that buys ebooks through a company called Overdrive, big American company, ebook supplier. The consortia's just recently done a tender. After 10 years, they decided to tender it to see what other ebook suppliers were out there. So that's all been done, and about a fortnight ago as a consortia, we all agreed that we'll stay with Overdrive. Product offering is really big. So that provides some certainty. And we will look at increasing all the consortia's committing to increasing how much they put in for ebook purchases, just because there's quite a big demand on it and there's quite long waiting lists. So to get rid of that. And then continue to help people realise, yes, there's ebooks available and keep using them.
So that would,
Annette, I actually thought it was starting to turn and it was becoming a bit of a, what's the word? It had become a fad and people had got into it and now they're going back to wanting that feeling of the real book in their hands again. And you don't see as many people with their iPads out or whatever, they're reading books on screen anymore. I just don't notice it like you used to.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, just interesting, isn't it? Because when all this started originally, I remember thinking that ebooks would take off and there was all fear and worry about that analog books would be a thing of the past. I think people want the choice at the end of the day, and different things for different purposes. Lots of people I know when they're traveling, they'll take their book reader or their iPad or whatever and use that. But if they like the book or they actually prefer just holding something tactile, purchasing a book or borrowing from the library. So I think we're seeing probably maybe a normalising of the two formats. From what I'm hearing from publishers, hard copy books are still really, really popular and growing in popularity again. But then ebooks are very popular too. So it kind of all speaks to reading and people making time to make sure they get to read.
It's great.
Do we have much call for audio books?
Not too much. No. The one that is taken off a wee bit, well, talking books. So, just reading a story. Some audiences, not others. So, yeah, not huge use. That's something we might look at a bit more with Homelink or Homebound or, retirement homes and people that are recuperating from surgery and whatever. There's probably a bit of potential there to really push talking books.
I know there are people out in the community that can't get into the library that actually like that sort of thing. They might just promote that a little bit and see what type, style of book they like.
Yeah.
How do we manage delivering books to people who are at home and can't get to the library?
We don't at the moment.
Don't at the moment. And is that something volunteers could do on
They
their
do, so Cardinal has homebound service and it's volunteers that deliver, sometimes library staff. It's a big area that we could really grow. So it's the focus for this calendar year to be looking at what do we need to be doing in that space. And in service and retirement villages, we only look after a couple in Carterton at the moment. There's, they're growing everywhere. So
Well, you've got the big orchards developing.
yeah, totally. Yes, so huge opportunity there. And there's lots of ways we could do things in a clever way.
Yeah.
So,
I suspect there'd be plenty of volunteers, I'm just speaking for Greytown,
potentially.
who would
Yep.
be happy to assist.
I didn't realise the mountain one had fallen away because that was, they were I delivered books before for
Right.
people that were homebound.
So then don't quote me on that, Pam, because that might be my complete ignorance. I'll go talk to Ali.
That was, I must admit, that was in Shirley's time, so
Okay.
that's a while ago now.
So these guys haven't talked to me about, these guys being Ali and Sylvia, haven't said to me about anything here. I just know that Carterton, Carter Court and Roseneath, they both get home link delivery.
These were for individual people that were having homeworks that I was delivering to.
Okay.
No, I didn't choose their books, they talked to the librarians.
Yeah.
Happy to do that if there's a need for it.
If you run off your feet.
That's all right, get to talk.
All we're doing is creating more work for you.
Me.
Fantastic, right, so we'd like to have someone move that we go into public excluded, which is item 7 on the
I'll move that.
agenda. You move that. Steve, do you want to second that? Thank you. So can't ask anyone to leave.
The door shut or something?
We're worried about it, we can.
I don't think
I
there's any.
don't know, people don't